We return to Stars Hollow, so this is going to be our thoughts on Gilmore Girls Season 2, Episode 5. The episode is called Nick and Nora / Sid and Nancy, and it's the debut of a new character in Stars Hollow, and that is, of course, Jess, who is Luke's nephew. Gets a call from his sister, who decides she's going to drop Jess off with him for a while. Not music to Luke's ears. He's very grumpy over it. And Jess is a little bit of a rebel and has had a sort of a rough upbringing. And that's partly what the title is referring to. He sort of comes into the town like a right sort of Sid Vicious, ruffles a lot of feathers. And naturally, it leads to lots of drama because in this sort of upbeat, quirky little town, for a rebellious teen like Jess, that is going to just drive him crazy, and he's sort of moody, and they're trying to
sort of.
Yeah, well, sort of, yeah. They're trying to incorporate him into the town. Lorelai and Rory try to make him feel welcome, invite him over to dinner. There's a little bit of a bond by the end with him and Rory. By the way, we should say the actors were dating, like Jess's.
Yes.
Yeah. Were they dating at this point, or did they?
Not at this point. Yeah. I think they met through the series, and then I think they started dating, towards the end of season 2 and then season 3.
Yeah, so Jess, not surprisingly for people who know a lot about the show, it is going to become a love interest for Rory. You see the chemistry from the
yes, that is true.
Your actors, so that's without question.
I really like season 2 of Gilmore Girls. It is probably one of my favorite seasons, and I've always really liked the introduction of Jess. Jess is a character that I do like, but I definitely have issues with because he is a surly little git. And I totally get it. I mean, especially now being older and seeing him more as like a young teen. I mean, that's just got to be terrible for your parent to just say, I'm tired of you, go away, go live with someone else. I can't deal with you anymore. He's suddenly uprooted from like his home, his familiarity, sent to this tiny little town where like everyone is crazy. I particularly love the shot when he has just arrived and he walks out of Luke's diner and they do this pan around of Stars Hollow. And there's this song playing over that's like, this is hell, this is hell.
That's really good. Yeah.
And I just think that's really good. I recently watched a video by a YouTuber that I just started following, and this was one of the videos that made me follow her, where she did a really deep dive into Luke and Jess's relationship, and she pointed out that like even this early in the piece, you can see Luke trying his best. Like Jess is coming to stay, right? And he immediately goes out and buys like the cereal that he thinks Jess will like, and gets the bed together. I mean, the bed's pathetic, but he's trying. And she also pointed out that Luke is probably the perfect person to send Jess to because he's not like the rest of the town. He's not quirky and overbearing and in your face. He's taciturn and surly, and he's just kind of going to leave Jess alone. And I think that's kind of what Jess needs. And I think it's a great starting point for their relationship. It has one of my favorite scenes in the entirety of Gilmore Girls, and that is that brilliant sight gag of Luke and Jess storming across the bridge, and then Luke just reaching out and shoving Jess into the lake.
Yeah, that's so funny.
That is honestly, it's so well done. It's so well executed, and it's just a great scene. So yeah, I really do enjoy this episode, and I like the B storyline of this episode. So the main storyline, as Keith said, is Jess coming to town and Luke trying to adjust to that, and him meeting Lorelai and Rory. But the B storyline is Rory going back to school and going back to Chilton, and we see her rivalry with Paris flare up again, and Paris is still holding on to her grudge from season 1, and she's trying to mess Rory around, so she gives her the wrong time for the paper meeting, so Rory turns up late. Then she gives her a really boring piece to write about like the repaving of like the fallout from Max and Lorelai, because Paris, bless her little heart, she's the profile of Max, that because he's the most popular teacher. So I really like that as well. So I actually think this is a really strong episode all around, and I have a lot of fun watching it. Love both the A plot and the B plot, and like I said, I think season 2 is a strong season, and this is one of those episodes that shows why. How did you go when you were rewatching this?
Yeah, I really like this one. I think this is one of the best episodes of the season so far. It's a really strong debut for Jess. Like you,
Yes.
I guess as we go along, we'll talk more about like what we feel about him and Rory and what we think about his character, because I did take to Jess quite early on, and I remember liking his character and definitely shipping him and Rory, but like I won't commit to that this time just yet because it's like a proper rewatch and it's probably been a while since I've watched these episodes, so I'll see how I go before really committing. But I think it is a good debut. You get a good sense of who he is, and definitely he adds to Luke's character as well, because Luke has to take on this responsibility. And like you said, because they are both quite moody, like, and people with few words, very sarky characters, they do sort of fit like quite well together. And yeah, I do like their dynamic. Like you said, him shoving him in the lake was fantastic. It's just so casual because they've had that fight and then they're walking along the bridge, and it's so good. And then Luke panics afterwards. But it's sort of it does sum Luke up as a character, like a man of few words. But it's just such a funny visual because it's so casual. Like it's really great. Put Out by Everything was quite fun to watch, and I like then there's a little bit of an arc where by the end him and Rory has found certain common ground. But like I do like then they bond over books, and she's quite surprised at like, this guy's he's pretty well read type thing. And I mean, Jess moves pretty fast because that scene where they go over to dinner, like, not only is he finding an excuse to skip out, he's trying to move in on Rory pretty fast because he's like, do you want to come out, like, for a walk or something? But yeah, I do like that. Then in a way, he's typical of someone that age, especially someone who has been through what he's been through, where like he's just put out by every adult he comes across. But I do like the two scenes with him and Lorelai, and then him and Rory, like. Because I like about how like both of them have different ways of dealing with him, and they're both quite effective because in a way Lorelai doesn't mix her words. Like she's very like truthful to him. And I like that scene, and I also like the stuff with him and Rory, and like I said, the chemistry is sort of there. But it's a good example of how to do in a way a 42-minute like TV episode where you do have a little bit of an arc. Like, obviously, if it was a complete turnaround, you wouldn't really buy it. But because he's come around a little bit to Rory's way of thinking, and they've found this common ground by the end, it's quite a nice little end to, like, the episode.
Yeah.
Like, there's a couple of moments in this, because, again, I know Luke as a character isn't your favourite, and I think the way he talks to Lorelai in this episode is pretty bad.
At her, he says, did you ever think that you got lucky with Rory? I mean, you did get pregnant at 16. That doesn't show the best decision-making skills. And Lorelai's just like, yeah, okay, you can get out of my house now. It's like, no, that's fair enough. I will say, when I was younger, because like I said, with Jess's character, I do struggle with his character sometimes because I do sometimes think that he is a little too much. And we'll talk about that as we go over season 2. Although that being said, I think he has fantastic growth, and where his character ends up, I think, is fantastic. But I do think that in this scene, so I used to get really mad at him. I used to be like, oh my God, why are you being such a dick to Lorelai? She's just trying to help. But now when I watch it, I'm like, look, I know Lorelai has good intentions, but I also think that sometimes she does overstep. And I think that is something that we will see her do over the course of a series, and not just with Luke and Jess. She likes to insert herself into places that she maybe doesn't belong. And I think when she goes outside and she catches Jess with the beer and she starts going on about, how he's so lucky to have Luke. It's like, yeah, Lorelai, I know you're trying to help, and I know you usually have a good rapport with young people, but you don't know Jess, you don't know his life, and he's definitely not the same as you. Like, you chose to leave your home. He's been kicked out of his home. So I do actually understand why Jess gets a bit testy with her. Now, he absolutely crosses a line when he makes that comment about, oh, are you sleeping with Luke? It's like, oh, okay, like you didn't need to go there. Like that was too far. But I do understand why it's, like I was saying earlier, the kid's been dragged out of his house, away from whatever friends he had, away from familiarity, away from New York City. He's suddenly been shoved into this tiny town. Now he's being dragged to some random woman's house for dinner. Now she's trying to tell him like what a good thing he has. Like, it's a lot for a kid to take in one day. So while I think that he was definitely way too rude to her, and so was Luke, I do understand a bit more now why he got his hackles up. And like you said, the ending of the episode is good because it does show us that there is more to Jess, which is what we need to see. We need to see that he's more than just a surly teen. So that end scene shows that he's obviously smart, he's well read, and he obviously can have a good rapport with someone that he gets along with. So I do like that little bit. Like, I've never been a Jess and Rory shipper. I don't hate them, but I also don't love them. They're just kind of, when they're together, I'm like, okay. When they're not together, I'm like, whatever. But I do like their little exchange, with the book. And then when she calls him Dodger and he's like, oh, Oliver Twist. And, they have those couple of book references. So I do think that is cute. And I agree that this is a great establishing episode for Jess. Really sets the tone for the character and what we're going to be in for. I love that scene where Babette comes over and she's like, have you seen Pierpont? Pierpont, her gnome, honey. And he's like, I think I know what happened to Pierpont, and it's just
and
really good.
Luke, that's actually one situation Luke deals with perfectly, because he doesn't just want to say just took it, like, okay. He does it in a subtle way where he goes away and he just lays down the law. He doesn't like sort of throw him under the bus in front of other people. But it's like he comes straight in, where's the gnome sort of thing. It's
I love that. That's a great line. That should be on a t-shirt somewhere. Where's the gnome? What? Don't act dumb with me.
He just knows. Rory's like 3 main boyfriends over the show I think they stand out because they're all different to each other. And I quite like them. Jess is very different to Dean, and then Logan is very different to both of those. So I do like that. You get good varieties, whereas maybe you don't get such variety with Lorelei's boyfriends. I mean, I guess Luke is quite different from some of the others, but some of the others maybe feel quite similar. So we'll see how we go with that. But
and did you like the B storyline? How did you enjoy like the Chilton story parts, or did you prefer the main storyline in this one?
I like both. I like the Chilton stuff. Obviously Paris is one of my favourite characters. And
me too.
This is great.
It's so good.
I mean, a gem in this episode is Paris's reaction to the suggestion of a gossip column. She is so sarcastic.
She's so sarcastic.
But it's just so brilliant. Yeah, when she's running through all the different people who have like worked at the paper over the years and what they've gone on to, and and she's like, but wow, but I could be the first editor to introduce a gossip column. I'll have to think about that. And poor Madeline's just like, okay, just runs it down. That's like Paris being sarcastic is so. She's so. It's good. Always entertaining. And it's one of those episodes you get a good rivalry between Rory and Paris, and it's a good side to Rory's character that no matter what Paris throws at her, she just turns the other cheek, and the best way to deal with it is just to do it and make the best out of it. And
oh my God, the high school years, Rory Gilmore, when it comes to Paris Geller, Rory has the patience of a saint. If I was Rory, I would have ripped Paris's head off like so many times. But that girl is so patient and puts up with so much crap. It's amazing.
And because she says something like, if you don't mind, I've got to research some pavement or cement or something. It's very funny. And also the thing about it is, it's later on when you get that scene where the teacher is like really impressed with Rory's article. I love it. You can see where it's going, because Paris is like, you get to do an interview with the person voted like teacher of the year. And I knew it was going to be Max, because she can't help but stick the knife in and make it awkward. but it's
Paris is just, she can be the worst sometime, but she is so much fun to watch. Like, she's so entertaining, and Liza Wheel is so good.
it's
But
a
I also
good
like, yeah,
it's a
it's a
good
great role.
rivalry. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
it is. It
good
works
and
really well.
good friendship later on as we go on.
Yes, yes.
So yeah.
And I really like the scene between Rory and Max because I like that it gives the
Hmm.
Max arc a little bit of closure, like with Rory. I really like that part. She's interviewing him and then she turns the tape off and she's like, look, I just wanted to say I really wanted you to be my stepfather. And he's like, I really wanted to be your stepfather. So I like that they kind of acknowledge that even though Lorelai has changed the plans, that the two of them, still care about each other. And I just thought it was nice because, we don't really get to see the fallout of the engagement being broken up. When we talked about this when we did the road trip to Harvard, you just see them take off. So I like that we got a little bit of closure between Rory and Max, showing that there will be a bit of fallout and that Rory will have to deal with him being her teacher. And I just thought that was like a really nice bit of follow through from there.
I agree. Yeah, it was a good scene, and it's just in the episode, Rory really is put through the ringer because
yeah, she is.
And I think what it shows with Max is that in a way she's in a more awkward position than the mother, than Lorelai, because she has to face him at school. She's in one of his classes, and just by reality, they are going to bump into each other. So she's actually in a more awkward position because, like, potentially the mother might never see him again.
Exactly. Yes.
Very
Lorelai
rarely
can avoid
anyway.
him.
So yeah. No, that's you really feel for Roy, but it's a nice little scene and definitely gives them closure, like you said. And I think this is a strong episode for me. Like, it ticks many of the boxes because you've got a good debut for Jess. I like that story, and it's also got, as well as some good Paris scenes, you've also got a nice scene with Lane as well near the beginning, and Lane's of. Well, it's the one where she's collecting all the records.
That's right, yes. And she's found a record store near Rory's place. Yeah. So she's like, you need to get me this one and this one and this one, and then I will finally be done with the 60s.
Yeah, that's good. She's got that massive book and she's looking around town, and that's really cute. I think that's her only scene, isn't it?
Yes, in this episode, yes, I think so. But it's always great to see Lane.
Yeah, because I think Lane and Paris, certainly from supporting characters, they're my two favourites.
Oh, they're probably my two favourites just in general. Like, I really love both of those characters, but for very different reasons.
They could be. I would have to think about it. But yeah, no, I think that might be true for me as well. So
yeah, as we continue to go on, when we get to some good Lane episodes, I'll have a lot to say because I've talked about this before. Lane is a character that I very much relate to with the strict parents and the Asian upbringing. So yeah, always love to see Lane. And I think her music obsession is just fantastic. And I love when you get to see the references to her CD collection and all of the stuff that she loves with regards to her music. So always good to have her in an episode.
Yeah, I think it's a good contrast with Rory because Rory in a way is more of maybe a book sort of nerd, whereas Lane's more of a music nerd, and it just has so much like information and knowledge, and no, it's very adorable. So this episode pretty much fired on all cylinders for me. I thought it was a really fun, strong episode. So that's Gilmore Girls, the 5th episode of season 2. So far, season 2 is coming along nicely.
Very strong season so far, yeah.
Yeah, so let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Like and subscribe as always. You can support me monetarily on patreon.com/boardnow. That's just $1 a month for some extra stuff, early access. And we do quite a lot of retro or older type TV. So speaking of this sort of thing, a good companion might be our Buffy reviews because we've been reviewing that from start to finish, so all 7 seasons. And we're late on now into the show. We've almost done just a couple more seasons, but I think this could be a comparable thing, like Gilmore Girls and Buffy, and I also do newer shows on the channel as well. So look out for stuff like that. But Rachel, if you want to plug your channel.
Guys, you can follow me, Rachel McDonald, video essays on movies and TV shows. I actually do have a couple of Gilmore Girls essays that should be coming up soon if they're not up already by the time Keith posts this. And I mostly talk about 90s and early naughty stuff because I'm very, very old. So my Tumblr and Twitter are linked through my YouTube. Keith usually puts a link in the description, so come and follow me everywhere.
Okay, thanks for watching, guys. And next time the episode will be presenting Lorelai Gilmore, so look out for a review of that coming up soon. But keep watching TV, keep watching Gilmore Girls, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.
Hey, Paris, what do you think about me writing a gossip column for the Franklin?
Huh. I don't know. That's a hard one. I mean, this is the Franklin, a newspaper that's been around for almost 100 years. There have been at least 10 former editors of the Franklin that have gone on to work at the New York Times. 6 have gone on to the Washington Post. 3 are contributing editors at the New Yorker. I think 1 even went on to win the Pulitzer Prize. But never mind them. I could be the first editor in the history of the Franklin to introduce a column exclusively devoted to who Biffy's boffing today. Quandary. You know, I'm gonna have to get back to you on that one.
Okay.